They said I quit. They whispered I cracked under pressure. That I disappeared because I couldn't keep up. They told each other I got too dreamy, too soft, too ambitious, too everything. They said my dreams were too big for someone like me. That dreaming was dangerous when you don't have a backup plan. That I was naive, and then they laughed. I remember the silence more than the noise. Not the laughter, but the space between it. The way their eyes moved away. Like I wasn't worth the second glance. I used to walk by the same coffee shop every morning, the one with the fogged-up windows and college kids hunched over laptops. I used to think, maybe I belong in there too. Maybe I'll create something someday that starts in a cup-stained notebook. But then I'd hear them again, their voices echoing inside my chest. Dream smaller, Alyssa. Just get a steady job and settle down. This isn't Hollywood. And a strange thing happened. I started to believe them. For a while. I shrunk. Not visibly. Not all at once. But slowly. Like steam escaping from a kettle with no whistle. I stopped drawing. I stopped writing down ideas. I stopped saying, what if, out loud. I lived in the bones of myself. Polite. Predictable. Performative. Smiling at birthday parties, nodding at networking events, holding my breath under fluorescent lights. I had dreams that made no sense on paper. Ideas I couldn't articulate without trembling. But they were mine. And in a world obsessed with immediate results and LinkedIn promotions, I dared to build slowly, quietly, without applause. People think you go viral overnight. They think success is sudden. But they never see the winter. They don't sit with you in the seasons where nothing blooms. I had seasons like that, whole years even, where I planted and waited, and the earth stayed silent. But let me tell you something. Silence doesn't mean death. It often means roots. My name is Alyssa Monroe. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. And this is the story of how they mocked my vision, but now they ask if I'm hiring. I was the one who color-coded her binders in 5th grade. The kid who turned in essays early, who got perfect attendance certificates, who cried if I got a B+. Everyone around me believed I was destined to become something real, something stable. They called me Little CEO before I was even old enough to know what that meant. My dad was a math teacher. My mom worked in healthcare administration. Hard workers. Quiet achievers. They raised me on the idea that ambition was good, as long as it came with a retirement plan. So, I chose business school. I told them I wanted to manage a company someday, maybe run a division at a tech firm. That answer lit up their faces. She's going places. She's got her head on straight, not like those artsy types. But even back then, something inside me itched. An invisible flicker behind my ribs. Ideas came to me at night, strange and vivid. Businesses that didn't exist yet, products people hadn't thought of, stories that wanted to be told. Still, I kept my head down, played by the rules, chased internships, networked like my life depended on it. But there's something they don't teach you in business school. Success without purpose feels like quicksand. By junior year, I was losing myself. I wasn't sleeping. My stomach was constantly in knots. I had a 6-month internship at a high-end VC firm in Seattle. Everyone there looked perfect. Tailored suits, $9 coffees, endless jargon. But none of it meant anything. I'd sit in meetings filled with buzzwords and wonder why I felt like I was being erased. One day, during a networking brunch, a partner leaned in and said, "You've got potential, Alyssa. Don't waste it on fantasy." I nodded, smiled, swallowed the insult like it was wine. Inside, I felt like screaming. I lasted 1 more month before I quit the internship. The moment I hit send on the resignation email, I expected to feel free. Instead, I felt terror. I told my parents I needed time. They didn't understand. "You're throwing away an opportunity. Just finish the internship, it's only temporary." Everyone feels lost at your age. And then, silence. Long, cold silences. Family dinners became awkward pauses. Phone calls turned into quick check-ins. No one asked what I was building. They assumed I wasn't building anything. "She's just taking a break." We don't talk about that anymore. I remember one evening, walking past my younger cousin's graduation party. My aunt turned to another guest and whispered, "Shiwa." That sentence sunk its claws into me. I didn't have an answer. What had happened? Had I really just failed? Or was I finally being honest? That summer, and in that silence, I started again. No press release. No inspirational post. Just breath. And a blank page. At first, I didn't even know what I was doing. I wasn't starting a business. I wasn't rebranding. So, I started helping out at the local community center in Southeast Portland. No job title. No real direction. They needed volunteers to run tech help sessions for older adults, and I had time to give. It felt like something small. Maybe even beneath me, if I'm being honest. But something about it softened the constant ache in my chest. My first student was a woman named Dolores. 81. Sharp tongue. Bright scarves. She came in holding her iPad like it was a ticking bomb. "This machine hates me," she muttered, sitting down across from me. "It only listens to my son. And he barely listens to me." I smiled. "Let's make it listen to you then." We spent 20 minutes trying to reset her password. She rolled her eyes every time I asked a security question. But when I showed her how to open a video call with her granddaughter, her entire face changed. She gasped. She cried. She whispered, "They." I'll never forget the way she held that screen. Like it was made of gold. And that's when something clicked. This wasn't about tech. This was about connection. About restoring agency to people who had been told, quietly, cruelly, that the world had moved on without them. I started showing up 3 days a week. Then 5. Soon, I was designing handouts with big fonts and easy instructions. Then tutorials. Then full slide decks. I called the system ClickBridge so. One day, I watched a group of 6 seniors teach each other how to log into their bank apps. They were laughing, supporting each other.
Son.
No one clapped for me. No one even really knew it was my idea. It didn't make headlines. And for the first time in years, I mattered. I took some savings and built a basic website. Free downloadables. Video explainers. I opened a small LLC to make it official, but I kept it humble. And then I started noticing something else. The ideas that used to come to me at night, they came back. And this time, they didn't scare me. They came like seeds on the wind, quiet, hopeful, persistent. What if we trained more volunteers? What if we translated the content into Spanish, Vietnamese, Somali? What if this became more than a side project? The questions came like rain, and I let them soak in. It was never about going viral. It was never about being famous. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't broken, that I still had something to offer, that I didn't have to fit their box to make something real. People always say start small. But they never tell you how powerful small can become when you keep showing up. Every Tuesday, Dolores brought cookies for the group. Every Thursday, someone new walked in with a story and a screen and a soft kind of hope. And slowly, my bones began to rebuild. Within a year, I wasn't working out of the community center anymore. ClickBridge had grown beyond the little tables and the smell of old carpet and free coffee. We secured a grant from a small Portland nonprofit. I used every penny to scale the digital resources and bring in part-time help. A friend from college, who had pivoted into UX design, helped me redesign the platform. I bartered, begged, pitched, and cold emailed my way into 4 more community centers across the state. We were onboarding 1,200 seniors per month. 1,200. By the end of the second year, we hit a 78% email open rate. That's higher than some Fortune 500 companies. Our feedback forms had a 97% satisfaction rate. People were writing things like, "I feel human again. I don't need to ask my son for help anymore. I have." I created partnerships with libraries. We ran pop-ups at farmers markets. Retirement homes started requesting private workshops. It was real. It was happening.
But
my family's tone. She's still doing that computer thing? Is it like a real company now? She's always been the free spirit. Free spirit. That's how they rebranded their disappointment. No one asked how many users we had. No one asked how many seniors we'd helped. No or. To them, I was still the girl who'd walked away from something solid. They didn't see me building something solid with my bare hands, because it didn't look like success to them. No suits. No downtown office. No LinkedIn title they could show off at church. My cousin Jenna got hired at a financial firm. They threw her a party. Printed banners. Balloons that are. I smiled through it. Clapped for her. And when someone asked what I was doing, I replied, just running my own thing. It's going well. They blinked. Smiled politely. Changed the subject. They didn't see me, but seniors who hugged me like I was their daughter. Volunteers who told me I gave them purpose. And still, some nights, I'd sit in my apartment and scroll through family group chats. Photos of weddings I wasn't invited to. Job promotions. Baby showers. And I'd wonder, was I really doing something that mattered? Or wah? But then I'd open the latest data report. Or a handwritten thank you card from a 90-year-old woman in Idaho. Or a voicemail from a man who learned how to order his medication online by himself for the first time. And I'd remember, this was real. Even if the people I loved didn't recognize it. It happened on a rainy Friday afternoon. One of those Portland days where the sky looks bruised and tired, and everything smells like wet bark and coffee. I was invited to speak at a small local entrepreneurship panel. Nothing flashy. Just 5 speakers, folding chairs, lukewarm muffins. It was hosted at a co-working space I'd never been to before, tucked between a plant shop and a bookstore. I almost didn't go. But something said, show up. I wore my simplest black sweater. Brought 0 expectations. I wasn't the headliner. Wasn't even sure anyone knew who I was. When the mic came to me, I gave my usual summary. Talked about ClickBridge. How it started. Who we served. What it meant. People nodded politely. A few clapped. Hey, excuse me, are you Alyssa Miller? I turned around. It was a woman in her late 20s. Tall, red curls, worn denim jacket. She had the look of someone searching for the right words. I think you're the person behind ClickBridge, right? I nodded, a little unsure. She smiled, really smiled, like she'd just found something she didn't know she was looking for. Oh my God. I have to tell you something. 3 months ago, I was helping this older man. He just lost his wife. He wouldn't talk to anyone. Not even me. One day, I brought him a tablet and installed your app. ClickBridge. He lit up. I froze. He didn't even know how to hold it at first. But once he learned how to video call, he started calling his sister every night. They hadn't talked in 8 years. He told me, this is the part that made me cry. He said, I feel like I'm alive again. My throat tightened. I nodded, speechless. And I had no idea it was you. I just thought, wow, this company is doing something rare. I managed a small laugh, blinking fast. That's really beautiful. Thank you. She tilted. Wait, why do you seem surprised? I looked down, then met her eyes. Because my own family doesn't talk about it. They don't really see it. There was a pause. One of those thick, holy silences. Then she stepped forward and hugged me. Just like that. Don't hesitate. No. It wasn't a nice to meet you hug. It was a thank you for existing hug. You're helping people more than you know. And not just the seniors. You helped me. You made my job easier. You gave him his dignity back. And then she added, I've got 3 friends using your system now. We all thought ClickBridge was some big East Coast tech thing. But it's you? I smiled. It's me. She blinked, wide-eyed. Wow. That's wild. You're kind of a big deal. For a second, I almost brushed it off. Almost deflected. But I didn't. I stood there, holding that truth like a warm cup between cold hands. Not because I demanded attention, I said softly, but because the truth walked in by itself and refused to stay quiet. We stood in silence again. Behind us, other guests chatted about funding rounds and startup accelerators. But none of that mattered. This moment, this truth. It was enough. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not by family, not by press, but by the very people I was doing it for. And somehow, that meant more. A few weeks after the panel, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email, not a text. A letter, handwritten, in slightly shaky cursive. It was from my mom. I saw your name in a community newsletter. They said you were helping elderly folks. I guess I didn't realize how serious it had become. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you.
Love,
Mom. Just 5 lines. No apologies. No grand declarations. But it felt like a doorway. I read it 3 times. Folded it neatly. Didn't frame it.
didn't photograph it.
I just kept it, tucked in a drawer beside my desk, where the old rejection letters used to sit. Later that month, my brother Mark called out of the blue.
Hey.
Just wanted to say congrats. Jenna told me about your program.
Her grandma's using it.
Says it changed her life. There was a pause. I know I didn't get it before. I guess I just didn't know what it meant to start over. We didn't cry. We didn't unpack the past. But something shifted. Like a door that had been rusted shut finally gave way and creaked open. Just a little. One night, during dinner at my aunt's house, someone introduced me as Alyssa, the tech girl who helps seniors. Not just Alyssa. Not the one who didn't finish her MBA. Not the artsy one. Just someone worth naming. I didn't say much.
Didn't need to.
Because somewhere along the way, I'd stopped needing their permission to matter. I found peace in the quiet victories. Like when Dolores brought a framed photo of her granddaughter and said, "She calls me every Sunday now. We watch cartoons together." I haven't laughed like that in years. Or when a 93-year-old man in Montana left us a voicemail saying, "I made my own doctor's appointment." My wife would have been proud. Or when a team of volunteers in Texas emailed me to say they were building a version of ClickBridge in Spanish for a community I'd never even been to. None of it went viral. None of it got me on magazine covers. But it was mine. All of it was mine. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to trade places with anyone. I didn't want the office with the corner view or the title that fit neatly on a LinkedIn banner. I wanted this. The kind of life where I slept well, loved fully, and knew, without needing validation, that what I did mattered. Some nights, I'd still get quiet, still wonder what could have been if I'd followed the traditional path, if I'd played by the rules. But those thoughts passed quickly now, like shadows that no longer had a hold on the light. It wasn't pride, it was peace. That line kept coming back to me, because this wasn't about proving them wrong anymore. It was about proving to myself that I never needed their map to find my own way home. If you've ever felt like your dreams were too big, like your heart beat in a language no one around you understood, like your success had to wear a disguise just to be invited to the table, then this story was for you. I don't know where you're watching from. Maybe it's a quiet bedroom with string lights and notebooks full of plans you haven't told anyone about. Maybe you're sitting in your car outside a job that drains your soul, wondering if it's too late to start over. Maybe you're surrounded by people who love you, but still, somehow, feel unseen. Wherever you are, whoever you are, hear me now. You are not too much. You are not a failure for wanting more. You are not selfish for choosing a path they can't comprehend. Sometimes the loudest voices aren't the most honest. Sometimes the people closest to you are the last to recognize your worth. And sometimes the dream inside you isn't supposed to make sense to them because it was never given to them in the first place. Maybe they laughed. Maybe they dismissed you. Maybe they watched you fall and turned their backs instead of offering a hand. But still, you rose. Maybe not with applause. Maybe not with headlines. But in your own quiet way, you stood back up.
And tea.
That always counts. Because not every victory is loud. Not every win is shiny. Sometimes it looks like peace, like rest, like knowing you did something real. Sometimes the most important, "I'm proud of you," has to come from you. I know what it's like to question everything. To whisper your plans like secrets because you're tired of being ridiculed for believing in something they can't see. Buy boots.
Build anyway. Dream anyway.
Because one day, someone will look at you, not with confusion or pity, but with recognition. And they'll say, "You were doing something brave, weren't you?" And you'll smile, not to prove anything.
B.
You already know. So if you've been walking this road feeling alone, I hope this story reminded you you're not. You're part of a quiet army, a tribe of misfits and visionaries, artists and builders, healers and dreamers. We are everywhere, and we are doing the work, even when no one's watching. So now it's your turn. Tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments.
Tell me your story.
Tell me what you're building, because someone out there needs to hear it. Not next year. Not when it's polished. This now. Your voice matters, especially in its rawest form. And if you're still in the middle of it, if you're still becoming, that's okay. You don't need to be finished to be valuable. You don't need a title to be seen. You don't need their permission to matter. Thank you for spending time with me today, for being part of this space, for valuing stories that don't come with filters or followers. We'll be back next week with more quiet victories, more real beginnings, more human truth. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Keep building.
And remember,
The
might be the one they begged to work for one day.